What's good, meaningful movers? Welcome back to Moving With Me in the podcast, where actions have meaning, words have meaning, and we open up the conversations to discover what's your next move. I'm your host, Krystal. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the flavors of sweet and sour. Having a great talent that allows you to be effective or efficient also has its downsides. But y'all know how it is and what we do. We need to set that theme, so let's go ahead and do that. The word of the day is bittersweet. This is an experience that can be described as having positive and negative aspects. I think it is safe to say that we have memories throughout all of life's ups and downs. We try to hold on to all the positive ones with good emotions and forget those that were not. But what if we just couldn't? That's enough of me talking. How about we introduce our guest? And there's no one better to do that than himself, Frank. Why don't you give the people a bit of background about yourself and what are you going to share with us today?
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. I am one of a little over 100 people who have been studied because I have this condition, what's called hyperthymesia, but the more popular term is superior autobiographical memory. I remember every day of my life since I was 6 years old, and I'm now 64. What that includes is the day of the week each day was, the weather, personal events, and if there were any big news events that day. It had its good points. When people first hear about that, they think, boy, that must be neat, remembering every day, all the fun you'd had. And well, that it is. That's the good part, as well as school must have been easy for you. Well, yes and no, because I remember all the good things, but remember every day of my life the way that most people just remember weddings, births of children, like graduations, vacations, big events in their life. To me, every day, even a normal day where I just go to work, and I have that vivid of memory. The good part is remembering the good, but also remembering bad days and things went wrong, romantic breakups before I finally found the love of my life. I remember the bad too, and that's how I became interested in psychology and helping people. I wanted to learn how I could release the emotional effects from bad memories, but hold on the good effects from the good memories, since I knew I wasn't going to get rid of the memories themselves in my head. I'm now a licensed professional counselor in the state of New Jersey. I live in the Shore area. I help people with all kinds of things, but one of the big ones is post-traumatic stress disorder from bad memories. And I've also written about 20 or more books available on Amazon. And one of the ones is a self-help trilogy called Heal Your Memories. Well, for each of the 3 books, I interviewed 12 to 15 people who had been through some real crap in their lives, but were now happy and thriving. And it also includes exercises to help the reader, mostly of a meditative nature, but to help the reader get rid of the feelings from the bad memories, but maintain the emotions and feelings from the good memories they've had.
You know, this is interesting, and that was a lot to unpack. So the first thing is just one of 100 people? I think that is pretty special, to be frank with you, Frank.
Yes.
It's interesting that you said that because, that's the first thing that I thought of is, this would have been great for tests because I don't take tests really well. I just get anxious about it.
Don't.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, this would be great to have that for that. But you mentioned, it affected your ability as a student. And I like how you put this, but you said that your brain was filled with so many facts, right?
Yes, that's the thing.
Elaborate. Give us some more detail on that.
What it came down to was, sure, I could, when I concentrated hard enough, I could memorize anything for school. But the issue was that so many facts and figures went through my head all the time that it was often hard to pay attention. And so I'd have to I'd grasp what I could while I was in the classroom, but then I still had to study hard to do well in school. That also affected my social development. It was like when I'm introduced to someone and people are having a conversation, it made it a little hard to pay attention to what was going on right in front. I worked at that too. So it's been, but then the positive side of that is I can remember little details that people have told me about their lives so that the next time I see them, even if it's years later, I'll be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I like that. When you were explaining that, okay, I have a little tidbit about that memory piece too, because I'm extremely latched onto this. But when you were explaining the social aspect and having to study, it reminded me of what people call ADD and ADHD. And again, this is from a super high level of someone who hears the term ADHD but doesn't really have any kind of background in it. Is that similar to what you were talking about just now?
I think it's a form of it, although I have a mild form of ADHD. Didn't have the hyper part of it. Mild inattentiveness, really. To be able to pay attention to everyday things.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my wife is really good with the everyday details, so it works out.
Fantastic. I also like the note that you put on there about you can recall certain details when you meet someone. And even if you see them later, you can really bring that back to life as if no time had passed at all. I'm like that with many of my friends. I don't like to talk every day, and I go months and years between getting an update, And when I do that, sometimes we'll have like hours of conversation because it's just so much to catch up on. But I'm recalling memories from us back in college and other times. I'm like, yeah, you don't remember that? And I'm like, no. Why? What? Then, with my family, we grew up miles apart because I relocated to Omaha, Nebraska with my parents at a very young age. Like I was like 5 years old. And we have a very close-knit family and a large extended family. So my mom is like the youngest of, I think it's 12 kids. And then, the cousins are really, really close. So I could only see them in the summer. And if I'm lucky and we get to visit in the holidays and the winter break, I'll see them then. So I had to capture and hold on to every memory that I had with them because I don't know when the next time I'm going to see them.
Oh.
I remember this one moment and I was like, I'm going to remember everything about my life here because I was getting ready to leave from visiting. I was at my grandparents' house and I was getting ready to leave and we're kind of, you're just saying goodbye to all your family members. And my god sister came there. My aunt stopped and kind of said, hey, do you remember who this is? And I looked at her and I go, no. I remember looking and going there like, you sure? And I was like, I have no idea who this person is. It was my god sister.
Huh.
Yeah, we had spent a lot of time together. For some reason, I could not recall. I had no idea who this was. And I was so embarrassed. They weren't. And they were kind of like, this is natural. But I was so embarrassed that I could not recognize someone who is my blood relation, but someone who also had a deeper connection and a deeper relationship than just, a cousin. This was my god sister. After that, I was like, I'm holding on to these memories. I think the family just loves chatting with me and having me retell those stories because they're like, I cannot believe you remember this. And just the cousin sleepovers. But you're right. I love to remember all of the good and the emotions that are attached to the good. I have difficulty recalling the bad because I end up rewriting. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
That's actually typical.
Is it? Tell me about that. Because I'm like, I'll remember all this good stuff, but when I remember anything that's related to me kind of bad, it's either hazy or I can tell that it's blurry, right? Like I'm trying to force myself to remember it happening a certain way because I don't want to remember it. Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, that's how most people remember things. It's like they have a filter for the bad. It's kind of like the brain will block it, thinking maybe you're not ready or maybe you shouldn't have to deal with those feelings to do it. That's one thing I don't have, so I had to learn techniques to at least get rid of the feelings. So when a bad memory pops up, just be like, so what had happened, without much or any emotional charge behind it anymore. So, you're more what the most people do.
Okay. I'm in the crowd. Okay. So as you were getting into this, right, and you said you struggled socially with this, you said you have the term that you guys are known for being poor forgetters. That's so cute.
We've been called that too, poor forgetters. We just don't forget things the way other people conveniently do.
Yeah. And so you trying to figure out just kind of the same thing with your work, trying to get rid of the feelings that are attached to the bad memories. This led to your study in psychology, right? And then leading off to do a lot of those self-help books. So you mentioned briefly some strategies on what you used personally, right? And then this became into a practice. Can you tell us a little bit about that approach?
Well, One big technique that's in my book, Heal Your Memories, Change Your Life, is before you do it, you pick both a good memory and a bad memory. And then you get into a meditative state. And I'll admit I modified this. It's an old neurolinguistic programming technique. First, you recall the bad memory in as much detail as you can. Sight, sounds, if there were any scents, how your body felt, if you were eating anything. And then after about a minute, let go of that and switch to the good memory in the same way. But think about the good memory for longer, maybe 2-3 minutes.
Oh.
And you keep switching back and forth with the bad memory a shorter period of time. And eventually, after about 15 or 20 minutes, the emotional charge from the bad memory just won't be there anymore.
So you did this for yourself? This is a technique you made, or it was already developed?
It was developed by NLP, but I started developing my own version of it. I didn't know about NLP then. And in fact, it wasn't even created in 1976 when I started figuring out, if I start training my brain to dwell on good things from the past more than I dwell on the bad things, I was able to release the feelings from the bad memory. And so it got to be, I just kept feeling happier and happier the more I did that.
Oh my gosh. And you sound like it as you're talking to me.
Yeah.
You sound excited about this practice that you have and then how you've improved your life. To me, that just sounded it sounded meditative. It also sounded very hypnotic. Is this a guided experience that you do with your clients?
Yes, it's a guided experience. I do it when I'm in the office, either on telehealth or with my clients, individual or group. I do it with them along with teaching them some cognitive behavior stuff, like if you change your thoughts about the bad experience, for instance, instead of just calling it a bad day, think about if there was any lesson from it.
I love that. I really do, because we can drum up so much anxiety and spiral in a way that focuses on what we did wrong versus how can we improve from that. You're right. Like, what did we learn from that experience? That's something that I do with my daughter. Like, she'll get so down on certain things. She'll go into this mode and get in this mood where she's just crying. I was like, why are you crying? And she's like, well, I just feel like I'm a bad whatever the thing is that she's crying about. And I said, I don't think that's not the conclusion that I think you should be drawing, because let me tell you what I see. I see that you've learned you have a window of tolerance to deal with this particular person. And you have to be in a particular type of mood to engage with conversation. Also, there's a particular type of personality that this person is that it irritates you to that level, right? And that should not influence how you feel about yourself, because it has nothing to do with you. It's just how you interact with other people, and you just learn this. I tell you the truth. She went back the next day. Same situation came out, but she was way more confident this time about that interaction with that person. So that is good. I can't believe this. Give me another one. I love these. Give me another one.
Okay, well, you could think of something that happened that wasn't the greatest as a life lesson. For instance, on September 13th, my wife had hip surgery. All the caretaking that I did, I've learned how to cook a couple of new things. Her appreciation of me has grown. So a lot of times when you look at something that seems bad and you change your thoughts and look at it in a good way, that can really help you. It's almost like if you do that well enough, you never have to have another bad day.
Yeah.
It's all in the thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. That is really cool, the reframing and the reshaping of that. Why do you think that happens? Like what you're saying right now sounds completely logical. Why is it that we choose to go the other way? It's like what you're saying is, why wouldn't I focus on the positive over the negative? Why wouldn't I look at the lessons that I could learn from this and turn that into something fruitful, and look at a bad situation and say, well, this is an opportunity for X, Y, and Z? Why do we immediately go to the negative?
Well, it's kind of an evolutionary thing, like Darwinian evolution. It's like early man and cavemen and women where everything was about survival. There was none of this growth and self-actualization. It was just about surviving day to day. We had to think about bad things like, what if a saber-toothed tiger comes? And how can we defend ourselves? So the ones that we're more negative thinking survived by natural selection. It's kind of like if you leave your brain to its own devices, it will tend to think of problems that you don't consider solved yet.
Oh.
But so sometimes, like, when it's not the time to think about problems, especially like when you go to bed, want to be able to sleep, there's a little technique where you write down everything on a piece of paper, everything that you might fret or worry about while you're lying in bed with no distractions, and then put the piece of paper in a drawer and even tell yourself, okay, I'm putting this away for the night. Can't do anything about it now, so I'm going to go and let myself sleep and think about better things.
That's like a twist on an affirmation. How people start their mornings? Yeah. That's neat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just drawn. My creativeness is just going crazy right now. You're so inspirational. You're so motivational just in how I'm drawing these conclusions and seeing these opportunities here, because I talk to a lot of people that have insomnia. Me. I am one. And when people ask, what is it that's making, I'm like, okay, well, to me, it's not like a health issue, like perimenopause or anything like that. I can say, well, because I'm thinking. I'm truly thinking about my day. And it may not be nothing negative, but wow, I had a lot today. And I'm just like regrouping on what I did today and what I didn't do today and what still needs to be done. So yeah, you're right. It's just like one of those things. Let me write down all the things that I need to do tomorrow because it's nighttime. I can't do anything, and just let it be.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, and sometimes having that list will give you a feeling of security that, okay, now I know exactly what I have to get to tomorrow, so I don't have to dwell on it now. In fact, I recommend that to people, like even when they are at work. It's like, make a list, because anxiety at work can come when you're thinking about all the gazillion things you have to do that day and that week. But if you make a list, you'll be able to deal with one at a time. And then when it's time for the next thing, so you'll only be thinking of one thing at a time. Well, I know there are some jobs where you have to multitask, but if you don't have to, no point in it, because studies have shown that when people multitask, they don't do any one task as well as they would if they were doing it exclusively by itself. So it's kind of a myth, that's built up in our fast-paced society. But if you don't have to, don't.
For sure. That is one of my hacks, is to make a list. I live by this. I've done it since I've started career work. But at one point, I just didn't translate that over to my personal life. And I realized, definitely later on, wow, I need to add these same practices that are making me successful and less anxious throughout the day at work. I need to add them to my personal life, because I still have a list of stuff to do there too. Interesting. Let me ask you this question. So let's say I'm someone who doesn't have a lot of good memories. Like my childhood or my teen years, my adolescence, my college years, it was just crappy. How do you get someone to find the good when they come in and say, I just have nothing good? There's no way you're going to find anything good for me to focus on, a good memory. How do you work through that?
Well, first I would say that our brains sometimes can be like Google search engines. And it's like, if you're believing that you've had no good memories, you won't remember anything that was good. But if you open yourself to the possibility, I've had some good memories, then they might start coming up. And if you dwell more and even journal on the good memories, even if it seems like there weren't near as many as the bad memories, you can make them bigger in your head by focusing on them. And then the good feelings you had from then will grow.
I like that. This has been so inspiring and so exciting to have this conversation with you. I'm going to call you the Forget-Me-Not psychologist. How you like that one? I like it.
Well,
I like it.
I like that one because I also enjoy gardening, so that's a good
look
one.
At that. Well, Frank, do you have any golden nuggets that you want to add some ketchup just to recap and leave us with something?
Well, one thing people, when they first learn of my memory, they're like, oh, you should have been an accountant or an economist or something since you're good with numbers. But it's less about numbers than it is about autobiographical. So I'm in the right field because all the autobiographical memories and the feelings with and emotions with them is more what it's about. Even though I talked about evolution, I respect all faiths. I am Christian, but I respect all good religions where it makes people do good and feel good. I mean, it's important to find any ways you can. Like I'm currently writing a book that should be out early next month called Happy Every Day. It's all about how you can be happy, not just when you're on a vacation or on special days, but you can find ways to be happy with gratitude and good thoughts and people with you and accomplishments, how to be happy on a daily basis.
Oh, well, that's nice. I like that little tidbit. That's the episode today. Memories can be tricky and powerful. They remind us of lessons learned, growth opportunities, avoidable situations, stellar academics, career performance, and even bring us a laugh or two when we need it most. There are also memories so troubling and triggering that we go to great lengths to avoid them, turn down the volume, and even rewrite the events just to keep them at bay. But are they ever really gone? Imagine putting the same effort into confronting the bad memories that you do to avoid them. They are just as much a part of you as the good memories. I know it is hard to believe at times, but unfortunate incidents can truly shape you into a stronger and more knowledgeable person. Your relatability to others skyrockets, thus improving the human connection. I think that's why they call it experience. I appreciate Frank for sharing his journey with quite an extensive recollection of events and how he used his talent to support others with similar impacts to their mental health. What part of Frank's story and practices leapt out at you? Maybe you have your own journey of conquering a bad memory and the emotions that came with it. I hope you are willing to share and inspire others. I love it all, and so will someone else. Before I let you go, Frank, why don't you go ahead and remind the people who you are, where they can find your resources or reach out to you.
I have superior autobiographical memory. I'm also a licensed professional counselor and life coach. Well, my website is currently undergoing some revamps. Now it's going to be healyshealing.com. Since I have the perfect last name for a healer. And so probably the most direct way to reach me is through my, for now, until the website gets up and going in its new form, is my email. It's healysheal1@msn.com. SHEAL, you repeat the HEAL, then the number 1 at msn.com.
I'll make sure to include all of Frank's resources and connections in the episode description, as well as on my website's resources page, movingwithmeaning.com. Make sure you guys subscribe to the show, Moving With Meaning, the podcast, and tap that alert bell so you know when these episodes drop. I am on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube Music. Please share, like, repost, and follow. Tag someone. We are creating a community. Quick housekeeping before you go. Follow me on Instagram at movingwithmeaning82 and on Pinterest at Arthur KB Clark. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn. I do dabble in TikTok at Krystal B. Clark. My Etsy store has some handy-dandy digital downloads. Lastly, run over to my YouTube channel and have a look or two. Links are in the episode. Alrighty, I'm Krystal on Moving With Me, the podcast, reminding you to take it one step at a time. All moves have meaning. Check y'all later.